I promised the American people that I would build a cutting-edge missile defense shield to protect our homeland from the threat of foreign missile attack. And that's what we're doing. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we have officially selected an architecture for this state-of-the-art system that will deploy next-generation technologies across the land, sea, and space, including space-based sensors and interceptors. This design for the Golden Dome will integrate with our existing defense capabilities and should be fully operational before the end of my term.
That was President Donald Trump sharing plans for a new defense system for the United States, a Golden Dome missile defense program that he hopes will be completed over the next 3 years, but at a cost of $175 billion. There are 4 stages of a missile attack: launch, early flight, mid-course, and then right before the target gets hit. This weapons system would be designed to detect and stop missiles in every single one of those stages. It's inspired by Israel's Iron Dome. And joining us now to talk more about this is retired United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis and host of the Daniel Davis Deep Dive on YouTube. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. And then first off, I just got to ask, as a former military official, what's your take on the plan for a Golden Dome?
Well, it's something I certainly hope works well. I mean, who wouldn't want something that defends your country? But I just have to say I have a bit of skepticism. Number one, because the Israeli Iron Dome system from which this has originated itself is not anywhere near as effective as claimed. This, you know, all the issue of 99% effectiveness is not exactly accurate when you look at the actual tally of the missiles that got through, especially in the last 2 iterations in 2024 from Iran into Israel. So that's just the first issue. Second thing is, though, it's the top of missiles that were used there and the top of missiles that this claims to be effective against: hypersonic missiles, advanced cruise missiles, etc. But the problem is the technology, I'm not convinced is actually there. I know that's what the president said, but I worked in a modernization program in the Army with the Future Combat Systems, and I saw lots of big pronouncements about technological development that in that particular case never came to fruition. We'll see if this one does, but I think that the hurdles and the roadblocks are a lot higher, and you also can't fail to mention the fact that Russia just came out with the new Oreshnik missile, which is even more than a hypersonic glide missile, which, as far as we can tell, doesn't have any defenses, and whether this new system would or wouldn't is something yet to be determined.
So taking the theory, taking what we expect or what the Trump administration says this Golden Dome would be able to do, how would that compare to any current defense capability we have in the U.S.?
Well, right now we have the THAAD high altitude air defense systems. Of course, we have the Patriot PAC-3 system, and those are relatively successful, as Ukraine is observing, because they use that too. But you saw just the other day, even our current technology THAAD system, one of the Houthi missiles got through that system and hit the Ben Gurion airport. So that's why I keep saying it's not great. It's good, but it's not foolproof. And if we think that it's going to be this impenetrable shield, I doubt that that's ever going to come to fruition. We obviously hope that it does, because it would be great if that were the case. But a little skepticism and soberness is probably in order.
Well, since you mentioned the skepticism, I've got to, make a comparison for our audience. Israel is a much smaller country than the United States. In terms of square miles, Israel is a little bit smaller than the state of New Hampshire. So is it really possible for this type of concept to be successful in the United States with so much more land to cover?
Well, yeah, I mean, the logistics, as you point out, are astronomical. I think the number you said was like 1.75 or $175 billion. That's probably just to get the prototype in place, but to actually get all the launchers, all the ammunition, all the people to operate it, and this is assuming that they can pull off the technological stuff, would be astronomical to be able to cover all of our shores to make the entire country, as that picture in the White House showed. So again, I'm skeptical that we can actually pull that off. We should continue to pursue anything that we can to improve our air defenses, because that, as the Russia-Ukraine war is so graphically showing, is vital if you want to be able to win any kind of a conflict or defend your borders. So I'm all for going down the road, but the difficulties we also need to keep forefront in our minds.
Well, but President Trump asserted that this project could be completed while he's in office, so completed in a little over 3 years. Is that timeline at all realistic?
Now, I don't have any insight to where the program is, what they've been doing behind the scenes. I'm sure there's been development. I can just tell you from my own experience in the Future Combat Systems that one went from its inception in 1999 to when it was finally canceled in 2009. I was in there in 2007, 2008. And the speed with which that goes once you get into testing and then you discover problems and then you have to do workarounds and then there's software issues that have to be considered. It's hard for me to imagine in the modern world that 3 years is going to be enough time to do that extraordinarily complicated situation.
Well, if it was up to you, what would you use to defend America against missile attacks?
Well, one of the things I'd use is more effective diplomacy to where we try to lower the reason why anybody would want to use missiles against us. That I'm not saying that as a tongue-in-cheek. I absolutely mean that. That's one of the best ways that we can defend ourselves, by having good foreign policies, et cetera. But there are also nefarious actors out there that can't be talked with, et cetera. And so you've got to have the best technology to do. And obviously, since the Strategic Defense Initiative, the so-called Star Wars that Reagan tried to do 40 years ago, that ended up busting because the technology couldn't be there. And since that time, we've been trying to discover new technology. But the fact is, at least from what we know, that we haven't gotten that much further in. And we can see it by the THAAD system that we employ now, the PAC-3. They're effective, but they're not foolproof, et cetera. So just looking at what we've done and looking at where we may go in the future, it just doesn't look to me like you're going to have some kind of a foolproof system. So you just do the best you can to answer your question directly, and then do the best you can diplomatically to try to lower the risks.
Retired United States Army Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, thank you for joining us this morning and sharing some insight and a little bit of realism and skepticism about the concept of a golden dome over the United States. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.